Like you said, I'm Sergeant Sierra. I've been with Hopkinsville Police Department for 10 years now. I'm a shift supervisor, currently the day shift supervisor for the police department. What we're going to cover here today, I understand you all covered a little bit already, so if we touch on some things, you have some input on it, make sure you let me know. If there's something you have questions about, stop me. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. I did serve as I was an instructor at the police academy for a little bit, so sometimes I teach more towards the adult learner than other learners. So, and since you have a little bit of experience on this, maybe you can help me through some of the stuff too as well, okay? I said this course is conflict management in the workplace, and we're going to cover ethical and management considerations. I want to play this video for you. It's a conflict, okay? Think about what you learned in the past, think about the different procedures, think about what the actual conflicts are, and then we'll cover the video when we're done, okay? It only takes a couple minutes, if that long.
Beautiful view. All right.
I know that's.
So, why you pick this class anyway? It's pretty hard. Beautiful view. All right. Y'all shut up now. Last week, we talked about the physiology of the animal brain as it pertains to aggression. Now, is there anyone here that can tell me why most alligators are abnormally aggressive? I'm not the answer to this question. Anybody? Anyone? Yes or you? Mama said that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush. Your mama said alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. Wow. Anybody else? Yes, you.
Alligators are aggressive because of an enlarged medulla oblongata. It's the sector of the brain which controls aggressive behavior.
That is correct. The medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is where anger, jealousy, and aggression come from. If anybody here can tell me where happiness comes from. Anyone? All right. Let's hear what Mama has to say on the subject.
Mama say that happiness is from magic rays of sunshine that come down when you're feeling blue.
Well, folks, Mama's wrong again.
Don't understand it, you're wrong. Mama's right.
Mama's right. Something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
So what is conflict? It's a disagreement through which parties involved perceive a threat to their needs, interests, and their concerns. In this video, what was the water boy's needs? Anybody know? What was the water boy's needs? To be right. Was he joking around when he was saying that Mama said it was this? No, he actually believed he was right. Okay? What was the teacher's needs? Not to prove that he's wrong, but to prove that he's right. Okay? Most conflict occurs because our belief system, I believe I'm correct in what I'm doing, and the other party believes they're correct in what they're doing. And that's where most of your major conflicts occur. We'll cover a little bit more of that right here in a second. Okay, what conflict did we observe with the water boy? His belief was based on experience. He had no formal education, but everything he knows was learned from Mama. Mama believed that because they had all them teeth and no toothbrush, that's why crocodiles are so aggressive. Okay? Colonel Sanders, belief based on education. So he's drawing back to his formal education, the saying, well, it's because medulla oblongata causes aggression, love, passion, all that. Okay? So difference in where our experience base comes from. Once again, Waterboy got his information from Mom. Colonel got it from his books. How do you express his anger? His frustration with not being understood. How'd that turn into? What'd that become? Yeah, physical aggression. Okay, anger will lead to physical aggression. What do you think Colonel Sanders did when he got frustrated? Did he express his anger physically? Yeah, he sure did. How?
He just made a joke about it.
Verbally. Physically aggressive. Is there a difference between me coming back here and slapping you in the back of the head and embarrassing you, or me staying here and ridiculing you, calling you names, saying this and this about you? Is there a difference?
Yes.
I mean, they're both physical.
They both stimulate a response. They both require you to have a response. Okay? His response is going to be anger. Though the colonel didn't touch him, he verbally abused him, verbally attacked him, ridiculed him, made him a laughingstock. So that in turn turned into aggression. Okay? That was perceived as a threat to his person. Waterboy believed he was right because he's drawn back to his experience and everything he knows. I am correct. This is why this is existing, because this is what I know. And this is where we get into problems with conflict. Colonel believed he was right. Who's correct? Well, medically, he's right. In beliefs, he's right. So when you got two people arguing different points of view, and they both believe they're right, what do we have? Conflict.
In conflict, they're both wrong.
What's that?
In conflict, they're both wrong.
To an extent. And in law enforcement, that's where it gets kind of tricky. Okay? If this was a case where the police are called out, at what point do you think we're actually going to show up? After he's tackled. And usually after he's tackled, what? They do what? Separate him, pull him apart. Someone calls. If we're right around the corner, maybe a minute. If we're not around the corner, maybe 5 minutes before we get there. So do we see everything that exists prior to that? But when we talk to the water boy, what's he going to say? What else is he going to say? He was what?
Right.
And he was taunted. He was pushed to that point where he had no other escape than to physically go after somebody. Okay? When we talk to the colonel, he was actually physically assaulted. He was right. He was pushed to a point where there is no other way for him to go other than to taunt the water boy. Power. The ability to perform an action or the possession of control or influence over others. Okay, who has the power in this scenario? The colonel. Who could have changed that scenario from the very beginning? The colonel. Could he have avoided the conflict? How? How's that?
You could have helped him out.
Not only that, but you could have not pulled on him the second time.
Right.
He raised his hand knowing that it was going to be like a mama said answer.
He could not call him. But what did the colonel want to do? He wanted to show the rest of the class how smart he was, so he's going to go back to this kid and say, okay, let's hear what Mama's got to say on this. He knew exactly what the answer was going to be. He knew it was going to be some off-the-wall answer that he's going to be able to respond to, crack another joke, and show everybody how bright he is. He is physically controlling his atmosphere. He is physically taking a power stance over the water boy. He's trying to show everybody who's in charge. Trust. Belief in someone's ability and reliability. Was there any trust there between either party? Did the colonel believe that, did the colonel trust that he was going to give a good answer? No. What does Mama got to say about this? He knew he was going to give him a jacked up answer. Did the water boy trust anything the colonel had to say? Why?
Because it's not what his mom told him.
That's not what his mama told him. And what else? Did the colonel give him any other different reason not to believe him? He didn't. He didn't sit down and explain, well, I understand where you're coming from. Mama says it's this, this, and this. That's popular belief. And that might even come from old wives' tale back in whatever. And we've learned over society now, over education, over our training, that it's because of this now. Could they have met somewhere in the middle? Maybe, maybe not. But at least he tried to control, give some of that power up, and trust that this kid's going to learn. Personality. Set of characteristics, qualities which distinguish an individual. Are we talking about two different personalities? Oh yeah. You got a backwards, bio, loving, lives in the swamp, eats fried crocodile person. Then you got a prim, proper college professor, wears a Colonel Sanders suit. Two entirely different worlds, two entirely different personalities. And that's where a lot of conflict comes from. An individual prefers ways to respond to conflict. That's your management style. How do you manage conflict? Law enforcement is really essential for us to know how we manage conflict. Okay? I'm a little bit older. Believe it or not, I got grandchildren pretty close to your age. But I can manage a conflict in a way where I release some of my power. When I show up on a scene, let me hear what you got to say. What do you want done? How can we get this work between us and parties? Okay, that's my management style. This is the way I'm going to handle this conflict. Others might be more direct. Shut up, stand over there, do as I told, blah, 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 blah. Shine out orders, dictatorial, take charge. And we're going to cover that, okay? Anybody know who these people are? Gandhi?
Is it Mother Teresa?
Mother Teresa. Are they leaders?
Yes.
What kind of leaders are they? What's Gandhi famous for? Anybody know what Gandhi's famous for?
Isn't like equal rights for like certain people?
He was fighting against the tyranny in India. He was a pacifist. The way he handled conflict is peacefully. You can strike out against me and I will absorb your strikes. What do you have left to do? If you come at me and I do not respond, what do you have to do? Have you won? No. If there's no conflict, are you winning any kind of battle? No. That was his philosophy. Pacifist. Then you got a whole slew of bad guys here. You got Gaddafi. You got Hitler. Castro. Dr. Evil. You know, pretty bad people that try to control the world. Well, then you have another set of people that try to control the world. Everybody's got their own different styles. You got dictators and you got politicians. Collaborative attitude, positive mindset of which disputing parties take effort to build or maintain a healthy relationship with each other. Okay, I found this pretty interesting. These people consider themselves opposite people. This guy is a financial guy, works at a bank, you know, uppity. What's my bottom line? What's my capital? Where am I going to go in life? This person's like, oh well, I'm going to live today, and that's what I'm here for. But look at the arguments. Wants government to impose his views on everyone. He wants government to control everybody. He wants to be able to control finances. What's her point of view? Wants government to impose her views on everyone. Could they have a conflict? But what's the baseline of their argument? It's the same thing. And that's another thing we do in law enforcement. What's the baseline? What do you think in a domestic violence situation is the biggest baseline that we find in a domestic? What's the shared interest by both parties involved in domestic? Children. That's our baseline. Is this the way you want to act in front of your children? Is this the example you want to set for your children? What would your children do if both of you go to jail today? That's the baseline. They have opposing views, they have opposing issues, but they share a baseline interest, and the baseline interest is going to be children. Reframing. Expressing something in a different way without changing the meaning. Who knows what I mean by reframing? Did y'all cover this?
Never covered framing. We covered different ways of expressing yourself.
Okay. Well, I'll tear this thing up first. All right, Tim. You want to turn that off for me real quick? Real easy exercise on reframing. Here's you. You're angry about a fire. Okay? You're really angry about the fire. When you get angry, what happens?
It gets bigger.
It gets bigger, and what? What else happens to everything out here? What else happens to everything around you?
It gets destroyed.
It's gone, right? We narrow down and we lock into what our anger is. This is the only thing we're looking at. It happens with grown-ups. It happens with police officers. We get angry. We get a narrow point of view on what we're seeing. What reframing is, and to handle this in conflict, this is what you're seeing, right? Okay? That's your point of view. Now we're going to reframe this. What else is that called? Looking at what? At the bigger picture. Okay. You got a fire that you're focused on. This has really upset you, is this fire. This fire has just got you irate. You can't see nothing past it. Reframe the picture. Show them the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? Well, the bigger picture is, this is a fire within what? I know it's a terrible picture, but a fireplace. What's the fireplace doing? Who do you think these little people are? Children. Yourself. Your home. So when you reframe the picture, yeah, you're angry about the fire, but what's the purpose of the fire? It's heating the home. Is it clear as mud now? Does it kind of make a little sense now? what reframing is pulling their thought process. Because when you get angry, you narrow down. You go down to what I'm angry about and what that means to me. Go ahead and turn that on for me, please. What does that mean to me? How is it affecting me? Me. When you're angry, it's all about me. Has anybody ever been angry about what's going on with my neighbor? You say you are, but are you? Not really.
Only if it affects you.
When it affects you, when it's a me issue, yeah. That's where you got to pull that scope out and say, okay, we're not going to talk about you now. Let's look at what the bigger picture of this. This is your fire that you're upset about. What is coming from this fire? It's providing warmth for this family. It's providing comfort, security. Third-party intervention. We're going to go into how we can help these people out. In law enforcement, this is really situational based. How we handle situation is how the situation is presented to us. You can plan out in your mind. Have you covered pre-arrival thought process, pre-arrival thinking, anything like that?
Covered pre-arrival things to do.
Part of the pre-arrival stuff is you get a call. They say, we have a fight in the street at so-and-so and so-and-so. 5 people involved, 1 subject supposed to have a gun. As I'm pulling up to the scene, as I'm going to the scene, I'm thinking, what are the streets surrounding that one road? Who's normally out there that I can rely on to let me know what's going on? What kind of situation am I looking for? Do I pull the safety off my gun? Is there a reason to? What am I going to do if I jump out of my car and someone starts shooting at me? What am I going to do if someone takes off running? Which way am I going to come in? All that is going through my head as I'm getting there on scene. And for law enforcement, let me tell you how hard this is. You're thinking about all that stuff. At the same time, I'm listening to a radio. As a supervisor, I got to know what everybody else is doing when they're showing up. I got to know who's there, when they got there, who and who's where. I got to know where everybody showed up at, where they're located at, what they're doing, what they're seeing, who they're talking to. Plus, keep my mind in the game as well. It's pretty tough. Plus, if I'm traveling lights and sirens, worry about the cars that decide they're going to stop in the middle of the road to see what you're doing, which is terrible. You're going 40, 50 miles an hour, got to slam on your brakes because someone stops in front of you because they see a light and siren. Okay, who's got a driver's license? What are you supposed to do when you see a light and siren? Pull over to the right. Okay, I just want to get that out there. Okay, there's different ways of dealing with this. And third-party intervention is a phrase and conflict resolution process where a neutral outsider gets involved in helping disputing parties solve a problem. Law enforcement, that's us. We're the neutral party. You have facilitators. You have mediators. And you have arbitrators. What's a facilitator? A facilitator is a third party that manages the process of negotiation. You'll see this a lot with minor family conflicts. Okay? Case in point, had a conflict of a young man that got approved to med school. Just graduated from U of L, great MCAT scores, going to med school. He's got his choice of 3 different med schools. Guess what he likes to do that he learned in college? Huh?
Smoke weed.
No. Drink. He likes to drink. He's a grown man. He doesn't have any bills because mom and dad pay the bills. He doesn't have any debt because mom and dad pay the bills. And he has money in his pocket because, again, mom and dad pay the bills. So what does he do with the money that he sticks in his pocket? He buys alcohol and gets drunk. So that scares mom and dad because medical school, if you don't know, is very, 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 very expensive. And if you fail medical school, you don't get a refund. So you pump $30,000 for your semester 1, which is cheap. Then you add another $20,000 to $30,000 in books and facilities, plus room and board, maybe $60,000 to $70,000 a semester. Cheap. And they fail. You just lost $70,000. Just lost, gone. Kiss it away. So you show up on that call, you got mom, dad upset, you got the kid upset. So me as a facilitator, what am I going to do? No, I'm facilitating. As a facilitator, I manage the process of negotiation. So when I separate, what am I doing? I'm not managing their process, am I? I'm controlling the process. So if I'm going to manage the process, I'm going to have what? Everybody in front of me, right? And what's my job? To do what?
Sort it out.
Sort it out. Because once again, we have a conflict. And conflict is what? Our beliefs. Two different beliefs, two different values, and everybody is right. But Dad, I'm grown. I can drink. I can do whatever I want to. Dad, yeah, you're grown. You don't have a job. You're buying liquor with my money. You're drinking your life away. If you can't be sober at home, how are you going to be sober away from home? How are you going to do what's required of you in school? I did it in college my first 4 years. I'm right. This is different. I'm right. So we have that conflict. Is it a conflict that can't be mediated between the two parties? Can you not sit there as a law enforcement officer and say, look, this is what's going to happen if you continue your route. You can get arrested. You can drive drunk, you can kill somebody. There goes your medical career, there goes any career. You can't get a job as a nurse's aide, much less a doctor. Dad, he's a grown man. He can drink, he can do what he wants to do. It's your job as dad to put your foot down. You're doing the exact right thing you're supposed to be doing. You're not going to participate, you're not going to be party to his party lifestyle. If he wants to live that life, go get you a job, make your own money, do what you want to do. But put yourself through med school. And sometimes getting that third party out there, not picking sides, but agreeing with both parties because everybody's right, but directing the conversation in a way for them to work it out. Okay, that's the job of the mediator. You're not picking sides, you're just helping them, two parties work it out. I'm sorry, the mediator, third party who helps conflicting parties clarify the situation, decide on a solution. Okay? Got a little ahead of myself. The arbitrator. What did you say earlier? What are we going to do? We're going to separate the parties, right? Given authority to hear all sides of a case, makes final decisions based on the information gathered. What do you think some of the options of law enforcement are when we're making these final decisions? What's that? The arbitrator? We're arbitrators now. Domestic violence is a classic example of where you can't always go in there as a mediator. Sometimes you can. Most of the time you can't. Most of the time you got to come in as an arbitrator. Okay, we have to come up with a decision. What are we going to do given this situation? Because we learned from the water boy what? All this action happened before we even did what? Before we were on scene. What personal knowledge do we have of what happened? Not a clue. Not a clue. I know this guy attacked this guy. Why? What did this guy do to provoke him? Did this guy come to school today for the purpose of attacking the teacher? We got to figure that out. Was it premeditated? Was it something that is going on? Was there a weapon used? What caused this guy to react in this manner? When we go to domestic violence, we got to consider what else? Domestic violence, we got to consider what? Biggest part of domestic violence is to find out if the victim and suspect are what? If they're related. A lot of times people are in the same house together. By Kentucky law, here comes Thanksgiving, okay? Everybody loves Thanksgiving. As police officers, from 9 o'clock in the morning to probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we love Thanksgiving. What happens about 2 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night?
People get drunk.
People get drunk? What else? Huh? Why? Too much food? Too much indulgence? What?
Families in one house.
A lot of families in one house. How many of you see family that you don't see the entire year? But they show up on Thanksgiving. And why do you think we don't see them for the entire year?
Because we don't want to.
Because we don't want to. We don't like them. But there's their butts in your house, drinking your beer, eating your food, and they still got that same mouth and attitude, body odor, whatever it is that you don't like about this guy, they got it. So the first couple hours are fine. And then what else you got on Thanksgiving Day? Football. Some of you might understand, some of you might not understand. Okay, I'm a die-hard Cowboy fan. I'm from Texas, okay? I was born into the Cowboy realm. Yes, I conceded the season. I gave up. I'm just going to watch football just for the fun of it. But during football, have you ever seen your mom, dad, uncle, aunt scream at the TV?
Yes.
Why?
They're too into it.
And what is that? It's a what? It's emotion. It's an emotion. That's real anger. You so-and-so, I can't believe you did that. You ignorant SOB, blah, blah, blah. It's an emotion. It stimulates emotion. It gets you thinking negative thoughts. Now you had alcohol. Now you got your team losing by 20 points. They need to win this game and they're not going to make the playoffs. Then you got the body odor of this punk that you don't see the entire year.
What about the bets?
Whole different animal. Money. Oh, Lord, help us if there's money involved. Because it's nice to bet $200. What's the opposite of losing $200? You know, when you lose, the $200 winner is going to be, hey, now another issue that occurs, I want to bet you $200 my team's going to win. My team loses. I want my $200. I'll see you next week when I get paid. Wow. I don't like you to begin with. I ain't seen you the entire year. You lied to me. I'm already stirred up because my team just whooped your team's butt. So my emotions are going 9-0. His emotions going 9-0. Been drinking. His belly's full. Overindulgent. What do we have? Conflict. Two brothers in that situation. Get into a conflict. Start fighting each other. Yes, ma'am.
The bathroom.
Need to go to the bathroom?
No, the bathroom. On Thanksgiving Day.
Uh-huh.
The bathroom.
The bathroom.
They can fight over the bathroom. Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not, they'll fight over the stupidest things you've ever heard of. They'll fight over the wishbone and the turkey. Sir.
My family, there's two people, my uncle and my dad. They fight over a drink every year. And I don't understand why.
How often do they get together?
Not really.
Do they hang out a lot? Do they come to the house?
They used to, but
There's a reason. I bet you if you ask, there's an underlying cause. There's something else going on. But this is what we deal with. As an arbitrator, in a domestic violence situation, we've got to find out, are they related? How are they related? These are two brothers. Got into a fist fight. Both of them there with a black eye. He said this, I punched him. He said that, he punched me. Clear cut. By Kentucky law, we can't arrest them. It's a misdemeanor not committed in our presence and doesn't satisfy domestic violence. So we got to know what the statute says, what the law says, what the relationships truly are between these two people. The biggest thing is same-sex couples. Okay? In law enforcement, we deal with same-sex couples. What do you think one of the issues is with same-sex couples?
Dominance.
What's that?
Dominance.
There's always a dominant party. But what else? Jealousy. As a law enforcement officer, what do you think one of the biggest issues we deal with is?
Fear.
Fear. What'd you say?
They hate you.
Well, sometimes they do.
Disagree.
It depends on the circumstance. But fear, a lot of times they won't tell you what the relationship truly is. You'll get there and like, this is my best friend. Oh, she's my friend. Oh, we've been friends for years. Is it true? No. So we got to figure out what the relationship is. But as an arbitrator, we have to go in there and make a decision. That's where we separate our parties. What's your side of the story? What's your side of the story? What makes sense? Who's leaving information out? A lot of times you can tell when people are lying because they leave information out. Well, we're going down here, blah, 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 and I don't know what happened. Well, you don't know how she got a black eye? No, I have no idea how she got a black eye. Really? Who's got kids in their house? Little kids. Younger brothers, sisters, cousins, nephews, whatever. If they get a black eye, a bruise, or mark, does mom, dad know what happened to them?
Not all the time.
Not all the time, but they'll find out, right?
Yeah.
Does a kid ever walk around with a black eye and no one care? No. Same thing with couples. If you see your wife sitting there with a black eye, how'd you get that black eye? Maybe you didn't cause it, but at least you can explain how it got there. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, her eye is bloodshot red and puffy and black. I don't know how that happened. You can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together there. But that's when we come in as arbitrators. That's how we're going to control the situation. We're going to make a decision how to separate people. Are we going to take people to jail? Are we going to send them to different ways for the night? Are we going to leave them there so they can work out their problems? But we're going to arbitrate. We're not going to mediate. Okay, can you tell the difference between arbitration and mediator? All right.
Okay, well, before we get started, you should know that there are 5 different styles of conflict. My Shaolin Templar style defeats your monkey style.
Here we go. I have a lot of work to do.
No, this is important. Okay, the first style is lose-lose. What's the next one? Just hold on, please. Okay, if we do lose-lose, neither of you gets what you want. Do you understand? You would both lose. Now I need to ask you, do you want to pursue a lose-lose negotiation?
Can we just skip to whatever number 5 is, win-win or whatever?
Win-win is number 4, and number 5 is win-win-win. The important difference here is with win-win-win, we all win. Me too. I win for having successfully mediated a conflict at work. Okay, so...
All right. In law enforcement, we need to know how we're going to handle conflict. We need to know our style, what we're looking at, that pre-arrival decision making. What are we going into? Maybe start working on how we're going to address the situation before we even get there. Having absolutely how much knowledge of the incident? None. Just what we heard over the radio. And a lot of that sometimes is third and fourth party. Hey, I was talking to my cousin in South Carolina who said she was talking to a friend in Hopkinsville that got in a fight with her boyfriend yesterday. Believe it or not, that's an actual call. How much information do we have? How much of that is real information? How much of that is speculation? Just knowing what you want to do, how you're going to do it, how you're going to address the situation. What I wanted to show on this is what was the issue that we're having here. He didn't know what. What did the mediator not know?
He didn't know which conflict resolution model to use.
He had no idea how he was going to address the situation. How much faith did he instill on the 2 other people that he was going to help them through their process? Do you think the other 2 people feel like this guy's going to help us through our process? This guy's going to help us out? If you went to see a doctor and he said, well, doc, I got this and this going on. And he's like, okay, your throat hurts, right? Yeah. Do you have a fever? Yeah. Fever. Does your ear hurt? Yeah. How much faith do you have in that doctor? None. As in law enforcement, just like the law, you have to know how you're going to handle the situation. You got to know how you're going to mediate. Are you going to arbitrate? Are you just going to stand by and let the parties work it out between themselves? Are you just going to facilitate the conversation? Okay, that's one of the biggest things that I think they're trying to stress in this aspect of it, is let you know how you're going to handle conflict and not to be a robot. Don't walk into every situation saying, okay, I'm going to throw this person here, I'm going to throw this person here, and I'm going to handle the situation. That's not always the best way to handle a situation. Okay? Is there any questions? Any concerns? Anything beyond this that you have a question about? Sir?
Now you said that if it was like brother versus brother that you couldn't arrest someone. What if one was adult and one was a minor?
It's a whole different statute. Okay, you're not looking at domestic violence anymore, you're looking at abuse. And then you also got to look if the parents allowed the abuse to happen. A whole different situation. Thing with law enforcement, and what I always teach my guys, if you're going to law enforcement, study the law, know the law. Be aware of what the law is and what the law says you can and cannot do, what the elements of the law are. Have you covered elements of crime?
Yes.
What the elements of crime are. You'll be surprised how many officers coming into the profession in their first year have a hard time telling you what all the elements of a crime are. There's just too many.
Is it really true that Kentucky has the law that you can't touch a child? Like, you can't hit them, you can't...
Who?
Basically, like, the parent.
No.
So they don't have a law like that?
No. Kentucky allows a parent to discipline their child. Where it goes into abuse is when the discipline is extraordinary or beyond reasonable. So if I whoop you, that's my child, deal with it. If I take off my belt, beat you across the back about 50 times so blood comes out, whole different animal. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't instigating one of the words too? Like the person, like it's three parties and the third person is keeping the fight going?
Well, there's an instigator and there's a primary aggressor. As adults, as people, we have the right to argue. We can argue all day long. We can sit here and yell at each other all day. If we're not creating public disturbance, alarm, or annoyance, then we're not committing a crime. Where the crime occurs is when I put my hands on you. Once I put my hands on you, a crime has occurred. So I'm the primary aggressor. I made the first step to cause physical contact between two parties. An instigator, and you'll find this a lot if you progress in law enforcement, is usually the victim. I dare you do that again. Or even before it happens. Oh, you gonna raise your hand? Why don't you do something with it? Oh, you're gonna threaten me? You're gonna kick me where? Go ahead, try it. I dare you. Are they the primary aggressor? No. Because until I do what?
Physically contact them.
Until I make physical contact. An instigator, that might be something we look at. But what's the old adage? Sticks and stones? Words never hurt you. You can argue all day long. But as soon as you put your hands on somebody, you change the game. The game's changed. Now you look at assault. Depending on who it is, you look at domestic violence. Depending on what you want to do with your life, you're looking at domestic violence affecting your career, your livelihood. Anything else? Thank you all. I appreciate everybody's time and consideration. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. Mr. Cunningham knows all my contact information. If you have any further questions than this, I'm going to give the class back to Mr. Cunningham.
You got that on my desktop.
What's that?